folks, today I'm going to use this wood to make a couple of bottle openers, just probably out of this end, because it's nice and thick. It's got a split in there, so we'll use as much of it as we can. So to start off then, we're just going to chop it up a little bit with the miter saw, just to get the rough size, or length should I say, for the first one. Once we've done this, I'm going to jump over onto the bandsaw. Ideally my miter saw would be fixed in place, but because I've got a small workshop area, it needs to be movable. So you can see here bits that I need to avoid when I'm chopping it up on the bandsaw, so I'm just thinking to myself where I'm going to chop them, and then we'll move on. So I'm just freestyling it here, just cutting a straight-ish line. My bandsaw's struggling a wee bit at the moment. I think the blade needs changed over, but it's doing the job. You can see I've still got part of that split there, but we'll get rid of that in the process coming up. So now we're chopping up the other side of that split. We're just going to go so far, and then I'll chop off the knot end that you can see, and then we'll take it the rest of the way. Now we're back at the miter saw. What I'm going to do here is just square off each of the ends and trim them up just so they're nice and straight. Just using my speed square and then chucking it on the miter saw and sawing those bits off that I've marked. Now that we've got the timber down to the size we want it, I'm just going to run it through the thicknesser a few times just to make it nice and smooth, because it's still in its very much rough state that it was. This can take quite a wee while. You sometimes need to do a few passes, and I tend to just turn the handle a quarter turn at a time just to take off a little bit at a time, save those planer blades and not put too much stress on the motor itself. Now that we've got both boards with two smooth sides, I'm just going to run along the main edge there with the jointer section of the planer thicknesser, smoothing off that edge, and then we'll put a slight chamfer on it. That chamfer will actually remove the chip that we had, or sorry, the split that we had earlier on, and then just gives it a bit more detail and character. Now for the lasering, what I'm using here is the Aeon Mira 9S. So my settings for this are 400mm a second at 70 power, 70% power. And I'm just doing it twice on the beer o'clock one and then once on this one. You should be able to see that I've got 3 little dots on each board. These represent the top dot being the drill hole to hang it, and the second 2 are for the mounting screws for the bottle openers. So now I'm just giving them both a sand, getting rid of the excess smoke from the laser, or the smoke marking from the laser engraving, and also finishing up the planing job, and it just removes any defects that the planer blade might have left if it's not perfect. Smooths it up, nice finish. So what I'm using here is the Triton bobbin sander, and I'm just doing a little bit of sanding on all three of those edges. Basically, the end grain is quite a difficult grain to sand, so I found that the bobbin belt sander is fantastic to smooth that off and make it nice and flat. And also giving the chamfer and the other edge a nice sand as well. A quick vacuum out then, and we can move on with fitting the beer bottle openers. It's just then that I noticed that there was still a bit of wax from the original piece of wood that they put on them to stop them from drying out and cracking. So I'm just going to tap that with the orbital sander just to remove that. Also decided to do the other one just to remove the sharp corners. So I'm just going in with a hole punch to deepen those top two holes before hitting it with the countersink bit. Unfortunately my countersink bit wasn't quite long enough, so I had to adjust that after doing this one. Once those countersink holes are drilled, we just touch up the backs with the sander just to remove any chips that might be there. And then I go in with a screw just to pre-screw the holes, so it makes the fitting of the bottle openers a little bit better. Now that I'm happy with them, I took the bottle openers back off, give it another quick hoover, and then I'm going to apply some Danish oil. So I'm just using the foam brush that I used in a previous video just to get it on there. I find it's the best way to do it. It doesn't leave any lint on the wood at all when you're finishing it all off, and it gets into all the wee nooks and crannies because obviously it's a sponge, it holds quite a lot of oil. You can see here that I'm squeezing the sponge just to really get the oil into those engravings so it protects them. When you're applying a finish to a real wood, you really want to go with the grain just so it all flows nice and concise and you don't get any deformities in the finish. It just makes it look better in the end. So I let the oil dry overnight, and then I came back and fitted the bottle openers, and you can see the stark difference between the rough cut wood in the background there and the bottle openers. I hope this has been helpful in showing you that you really don't need to buy the best of the best to make a decent product. If you've liked this video, please consider subscribing and liking the video below. It really helps the channel and other people finding these videos. Thanks very much. Bye.